She was meant to walk down the aisle. But instead of vows, she handed back the ring and walked away from the man who betrayed her with her best friend. Fire, no tears. No drama. Just silence, strength, and one powerful new partner who saw her not as broken but unstoppable. The scent of tuberose and peonies filled the room. My dress, an ivory silk mermaid cut by Ellie Saab, hung like a quiet promise in the center. My phone buzzed, again. Isla glanced at it. Nervous jitters? Probably the planner, I replied. But I didn't move to check. She sauntered over, champagne flute in hand, wearing a champagne satin robe too similar to mine. You ready to become Mrs. Andrew Blake? I turned toward her slowly, watching her eyes for the twitch I knew was coming. More than ready, I lied. Isla smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Your dress is breathtaking, she said. Honestly, Andrew's going to lose his mind when he sees you. I tilted my head. You think? She nodded. He'll cry. Men like Andrew, cocky on the outside, mush inside. Trust me. Oh, I did trust her. Once. But not after 3:14 a.m. this morning. That was when I rolled over in bed, restless, and noticed his phone screen lighting up in the dark. I shouldn't have read it. But I did. Isla, last night was a mistake, but I can't stop thinking about you. Andrew, we can't do this again, not with the wedding tomorrow. The final message sealed everything. Isla, she doesn't have to know. Ever. They were wrong. 10:42 a.m. I stood at the vanity holding the diamond ring Andrew gave me 6 months ago. It used to shine. Today it looked dull. Behind me, Isla applied lip gloss. Do you think I should wear my hair up? She asked. It's humid. Down, I said absently. She paused. Viv. I turned. I know. Her hand froze mid-air. You've what? I know about you and Andrew. For the first time in a long time, Isla couldn't find words. I know about the messages. The late nights. The lies. Vivian. You could have told me, I said. You should have. But you didn't. That's what makes it betrayal. Isla's voice cracked. I didn't mean. You meant every second of it. You just didn't think I'd find out. She stepped forward. Please, Viv. Don't throw this all away. You and Andrew. There is no me and Andrew. I lifted the ring. I'm not marrying a man who cheats with my best friend the night before our wedding. Don't do this, she whispered. You'll regret it. No, I said quietly. I regret ignoring the signs. But walking away. That Isla is salvation. Cathedral courtyard, 11 a.m. I slipped outside, veil removed, the dress heavy in my arms. Andrew was pacing, his groomsmen chatting nervously behind him. He saw me and smiled like a fool. There she is. I was starting to think you were gonna ditch me. I stopped a foot away from him and handed him the ring. What's this? I stared straight at him. It's over. He blinked. Vivian, what are you talking about? I know about you and Isla. Silence. Then a scoff. Isla? What? Are you serious? She texted you last night. You said it was a mistake. You said you couldn't do it again. Andrew's mouth opened, then closed. Look, I don't need an explanation, I said coolly. I needed honesty. Yesterday. Viv, wait, just think about what you're doing. I did, I replied. I've been thinking about it all night. He looked around. People are already arriving. My parents. Your family. You'll figure out what to tell them. Vivian, don't you dare walk out on me. Not like this. I met his gaze, then smiled, softly, painfully. You walked out on me first. You just didn't realize it. Inside the cathedral, 11:27 a.m. Guests rustled in their seats. The organist kept playing the prelude on a loop, confused. I stood behind the curtain, just out of view, breathing deeply. Then I turned to the wedding planner. Cancel everything. Her eyes widened. Excuse me. There's no wedding. But I'll make the announcement. No. Miss Moore, Vivian, you don't have to do this. You've come so far. I handed her the mic. This is as far as I go. Front of the cathedral, 11:34 a.m. As I stepped onto the altar platform, the crowd fell into stunned silence. Andrew stood off to the side. Isla, oddly seated near the front, froze mid-whisper. I cleared my throat and spoke into the mic. Thank you everyone for coming. The room echoed with tension. I'm grateful for the love, the support, and the effort so many of you made to be here. People exchanged glances. That said, there will be no wedding today. A collective gasp. I smiled faintly. The reception is still available. Food, drinks, music, it's all yours. But this ceremony is officially cancelled. Pause. Enjoy the evening. Just, not in my name. I turned and walked away alone. I stepped into the waiting car. Carson, my driver, gave me a questioning glance. Where to, Miss Moore? Anywhere but here. He nodded. Yes, ma'am. As the car pulled away, I looked back once. Andrew was still standing there. Isla now beside him, panic on her face. Neither of them moved. Neither did I. But for the first time in days, maybe months, I finally breathed. She's gone. Andrew's mother gasped, nearly dropping her teacup. You're telling me Vivian cancelled the wedding? Just like that. Andrew stood in the middle of the sitting room, still in his tux, hands shoved in his pockets. She didn't even give me a chance to explain. His father folded the morning paper with a snap. What did you do, Andrew? Nothing, Andrew started, but his voice cracked. Isla sat on the far end of the sofa, her hair now tucked into a polished bun, her dress changed into something more modest. The picture of sorrow. She found out, she whispered, eyes downcast. Mrs. Blake turned slowly. Found out what, Isla? Isla's voice trembled, perfectly timed. There was a moment. A mistake. It wasn't supposed to mean anything. Andrew's jaw tightened. Don't say it like that. You told me it meant nothing, she said softly, almost rehearsed. Mr. Blake stood. Isla, sweetheart, you should go. She deserves to know the truth, Isla replied. Vivian left because of me. Andrew barked. No. She left because she was waiting for an excuse. You know how cold she's been lately. She left because you cheated, his father snapped. Mrs. Blake buried her face in her hands. This is a disaster. Our guests are still drinking champagne, trying to make sense of what just happened. Andrew ran a hand through his hair. I need to talk to her. Give her space, his mother said. But Isla reached for his hand. No. You need to fight for her, Andrew. If you really love her, don't let this end like this. His eyes locked on hers for a beat. And for a brief second Isla smiled. You should have told us, Vivian's sister Charlotte hissed, throwing her phone down. I found out on Instagram, Vivian. Instagram. Vivian sat at the breakfast bar, robe still wrapped around her, her hair no longer perfect. There wasn't time. You humiliated him in front of 200 people. No, Vivian interrupted calmly. He humiliated me. I just chose not to stand at the altar like a fool. Their mother sighed from the doorway. What happens now, darling? Vivian looked up. Now I rest. Then I rebuild. You think that's enough? Charlotte snapped. The Blakes are calling you a runaway bride. Vivian picked up her phone and opened the group message from earlier that morning. She scrolled to Isla's text from the night before. She held the screen up. I walked away because this was happening under your noses. Their mother gasped. Isla. Vivian nodded once. My best friend and my fiancé. Sharing beds. Secrets. And apparently regrets. I had no idea, her mother whispered. No one did, Vivian said. But I'm done pretending. Charlotte sat down slowly. The media is spinning. One site already posted, Ice Queen Vivian Moore abandons fiancé at the altar. Vivian chuckled bitterly. Let them. If I'm going to be painted cold, I might as well wear it like armor. Camera with flash at Gossip Glow. Vivian Moore leaves her own wedding in silence. Sources say family feud brewing with maid of honor Isla Grant eyes #runaway bride or calculated move. Camera with flash at City Elite Weekly. Andrew Blake seen leaving the cathedral alone. A family insider says. He was heartbroken. Vivian blindsided him. Broken heart. Camera with flash at Insider Glam. A guest says the bride never cried. Just walked up and cancelled it like a press conference. Is Vivian more heartless or just over it? Vivian scrolled through the tags quietly. Charlotte burst into the room waving her phone. Isla just did an interview. Vivian looked up. She what? Charlotte shoved the phone toward her. Exclusive on Channel 7. Isla Grant speaks out. Vivian and I have been friends since childhood. I never meant to come between her and Andrew. I made a mistake. But I still love her. I hope one day she forgives me. Charlotte cursed. She's turning herself into the victim. Vivian stared at the screen. Let her. You're not going to say anything? No, Vivian said. Let them watch. I'd rather say everything when they least expect it. A loud knock. Andrew opened the door in a wrinkled white shirt. Vivian stood on the other side, pristine. He blinked. Viv. She held up her hand. Don't speak unless I ask you a question. He nodded quickly. I have one, she said. Were you ever going to tell me? His mouth opened. Closed. Then he laughed bitterly. I don't know. She nodded. You had the ring. The dress. The vows ready. But you didn't have the spine to tell me the truth. I was scared, he said. I didn't mean to hurt you. You didn't mean to get caught, she corrected. There's a difference. He stepped closer. Can't we talk? Just talk. Vivian stepped back. There's nothing left to say. You threw away something real for something cheap. Andrew's expression hardened. So that's it. That's it, she said softly. But don't worry. He blinked. One day when you finally understand what loyalty really means, you'll remember this silence. And it will haunt you. She turned and walked away. Later that night, Vivian's phone buzzes. Unknown number. She opened the message. You don't know me. But I saw what you did today. You were magnificent. I'd like to offer you a meeting. Strictly business. JW. Vivian raised an eyebrow. JW? She opened his contact card. Julian Ward. She whispered the name once, intrigued. Then leaned back against the velvet chair in her study. Interesting timing, she murmured. Her phone buzzed again. Andrew, I love you. Please call me. I'm sorry. Isla. I didn't mean to. I panicked. Please don't hate me. Vivian turned off her phone. And smiled. A soft knock on the door jolted Vivian from her reverie. Carson, her driver, stepped into the room after she called out. Come in. There's someone downstairs asking to see you. He says it's about a business proposal. Vivian barely looked up from her coffee. Name. He extended a card with a single line etched in gold. Julian Ward, Ward Capital Group. Vivian blinked. The name rang like a warning bell and a challenge all at once. Carson added, he said he'll wait 5 minutes. Then he's gone. She stood slowly. Show him in. Julian Ward walked in like he owned the air he breathed. Tall, dressed in an obsidian three-piece suit, sharp-lined jaw, and eyes too quiet for a man so publicly feared. Vivian remained seated, cross-legged, still in a pale gray cashmere robe. You don't call first? She asked coolly. Or does being a billionaire excuse poor manners? Julian smirked. Your number isn't public. And I don't like waiting. Neither do I. A beat of silence. Then she gestured to the chair across from her. Sit. Impress me. He sat without removing his coat. I'm acquiring Spencer Rowe and Lewis next quarter. You hold 22%. She lifted a brow. And you came all this way just to ask nicely? I came because I want a strategic partner. Not just a shareholder. Interesting timing, she said. The day after I cancel a wedding and become tabloid gold? Julian's voice remained measured. The timing is perfect. You're no longer the fiancée of Andrew Blake. You're Vivian Moore. Independent. Unattached. Ruthless. And you're what? Looking to capitalize on my rage? I'm looking to align with your ambition. She tilted her head. Is that what they're calling it these days? Julian leaned forward. I don't care what your ex did. I care that you didn't flinch. You walked away, made the announcement, and left them blinking in the sun. Vivian stared. I need someone who doesn't blink. Vivian sipped her coffee slowly. Let's say I'm interested. What would this partnership look like? Julian removed a black folder from his briefcase. Full access to Ward Capital's investor circle. Your media agency gets a boost from my infrastructure fund. And in return, you make it personal. She narrowed her eyes. What does that mean? You become the new face of the acquisition. We take it public. Ward Capital partners with Vivian Moore, the woman who left the altar but still walked away with power. You don't hide from the press. You use it. Vivian laughed softly. You want me to market heartbreak as leverage. I want you to weaponize perception. You're already a headline. Now you control the narrative. She stood and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. So I become your media darling. No, he said from behind. You become your own storm. She turned back to face him. And you? I stay behind the curtain. Pulling strings. Cleaning up messes. Making sure you never fall. Vivian's brow lifted. You don't even know me. Julian stood. I know enough. Enlighten me. I know you didn't cry when you walked away. I know you didn't call the press. I know you let the world assume and chose silence. That means you're not impulsive. You're strategic. That's rare. Vivian studied him for a moment. And what's in it for you, Mr. Ward? Leverage, he said honestly. And someone to keep the vultures out of my sky. She chuckled. So this is transactional. He shrugged. Until it's not. Vivian picked up the folder. Scanned a few lines. Then closed it. You didn't offer a figure. I don't want to insult you. She smirked. Try me. 10 million. For your equity. Plus media rights and your face on the cover of the fall campaign. Vivian didn't flinch. I'll counter. 15. I keep a 10% advisory stake. And you let me control the press rollout. Julian studied her face. Done. She raised an eyebrow. That easy. I didn't come here to negotiate. I came here to confirm my instinct. Which is that you're more valuable now than ever before. She paused. And what happens when this deal goes through? We make headlines. And what happens when Andrew tries to claw his way back? Julian's voice was steel. He won't get the chance. Vivian stepped forward, close enough to smell the faint scent of his cologne. Dark, expensive, precise. You seem very sure. He leaned in, voice low. I don't gamble, Vivian. I calculate. She held his gaze. Then nodded once. Send me the contract. Later that day, group chat. Bridesmaids forever ring. Maya, guys, what is this? Screen grab of news article. Vivian Moore signs exclusive partnership with Ward Capital. Billionaire Julian Ward backs post-wedding business empire. Leah, holy. Sophie, did she just turn her breakup into a brand deal? Maya, this woman is iconic. Leah, Isla's gonna faint. Sophie, good. Maya. Also, is it just me or is Julian Ward hot? Leah. Smiling face with heart eyes. I volunteer to be emotionally ruined next. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She opened the message. Contract sent. You'll receive confirmation in the morning. Pleasure doing business with you. JW. Then another message came in. This time from Andrew. Vivian, please. Just meet me. One last time. Vivian stared at both messages. One from her past. One from her future. She deleted Andrew's. And replied to Julian. I don't like being underestimated. You won't, will you? Seconds later his response lit up the screen. Never. 1 week later, Glasshouse Atrium, Midtown Manhattan. Vivian stepped out of the black SUV, sunglasses on, heels clicking sharply against the polished marble. The sea of photographers outside the Glasshouse event parted almost respectfully. This way, Miss Moore, a PR assistant chirped, handing her a gold-accented badge. Vivian adjusted the lapel of her white blazer. Is Julian here? Yes, ma'am. He's inside. Waiting for you. Inside, the atrium buzzed with media executives, investors, and cameras. The launch of the Wardmore Strategic Initiative was the biggest financial event of the season. And it wasn't even about money. It was about spectacle. Julian Ward stood by the podium, flanked by industry leaders. When he spotted Vivian entering, a rare flicker of something soft passed through his eyes. He approached calmly. You're late, he said. I was busy being dressed like an empire, Vivian replied, smoothing the sleeve of her ivory silk blazer. He nodded approvingly. It worked. A reporter near the edge of the stage snapped a photo. Then another. Vivian turned slightly, offering her best media-facing side. You ready for the wolves? He asked, voice lower now. I've faced worse, she said. At least wolves don't pretend to be your friend before they bite. Julian studied her for a moment, then handed her a file. You'll speak after me. Keep it sharp, clean, and unapologetic. Vivian smirked. So, be myself? Exactly. Julian stepped up first. Good morning. As you all know, Ward Capital has always aligned itself with vision, resilience, and innovation. That's why today, we're proud to announce our strategic partnership with More Media and Influence, headed by none other than Vivian Moore. He gestured to her. Vivian stepped forward, her expression unreadable, posture regal. The cameras flashed like a storm. I know what you're all thinking, she began, tone calm. A woman walks away from her wedding and signs a business deal the same week? Laughter rippled through the room, nervous, impressed. Yes. I walked away. Because sometimes silence is not weakness. It's control. And this, she motioned to the banner behind them, this is my statement. More flashes. A few claps. Julian stood just behind her, expression unreadable. I'm not here to retell old stories, she continued. I'm here to write new ones. And I'm not doing it alone. She glanced at him briefly. We're building something smarter, stronger, and louder than betrayal. The applause came quickly. Julian leaned toward her and whispered, You just broke the internet. Vivian turned, brushing past him as she walked off the stage. I know. Vivian sipped a glass of water, waiting for the room to clear. Julian walked in, removing his jacket. That was surgical. Vivian glanced up. Did I overplay it? He smiled faintly. You owned it. Not a single mention of your ex. No victim act. Just fire. I learned from the best. Julian raised an eyebrow. You've been studying me? No. Just observing. She tilted her head. You like control. But you admire people who can match it. He didn't deny it. Why me really? She asked. There are dozens of media firms you could have picked. Julian folded his arms. Because you don't chase pity. You weaponize perception. And because I saw what you did on that altar. Vivian stared at him. I wasn't brave. I was just done. That's braver than most. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Vivian asked, And why do you stay behind the curtain? Julian's voice softened. Because I've been the headline before. Once is enough. Vivian blinked. What happened? He shook his head. Another time. The article came out at 6:45 p.m. More than ever. Vivian Moore turns heartbreak into power move. Gone is the silent bride. In her place, a corporate force wrapped in cashmere and cutting wit. At today's Ward Capital conference, Vivian Moore made it clear. She didn't lose the wedding. She gained the world. Vivian tossed the magazine onto the table, phone already buzzing. Unknown number again. She answered. Yes. A slow chuckle on the other end. I should have known you'd twist it. Vivian's smile vanished. What do you want? To say congratulations, he said mockingly. You always did love attention. And you always did mistake power for performance, she shot back. You can hang up now. Viv. She ended the call. Then before she could put the phone down, another buzz. Julian Ward, you did good today. Drinks tomorrow to celebrate. Vivian paused. Then typed. Only if you don't call it a date. Julian replied instantly. Wouldn't dream of it. Power meetings only. Vivian smiled to herself. She hadn't expected to be rebuilding her life like this. Certainly not with Julian Ward in her corner. But something about the way he moved, like a storm behind glass, made her curious. And if there was one thing Vivian Moore couldn't resist anymore, it was the pull of something calculated. Vivian tapped the sleek silver pen against her desk, eyes locked on the stack of documents in front of her. Sophie, her assistant, hovered near the door. The journalist from City Elite is here. You want me to send her away again? Vivian set the pen down. No. Let her in. Moments later, the young journalist walked in, eyes wide, recorder in hand. Miss Moore, thank you for agreeing to this interview. Vivian didn't look up. We'll keep it short. 5 questions. No rewrites. Yes, of course. The girl cleared her throat nervously. Some say you've risen from scandal with terrifying speed. What do you say to that? Vivian finally raised her gaze. Terrifying to whom? The reporter hesitated. Vivian smiled faintly. Next question. Same day, Julian's office, Ward Capital, 12:03 p.m. Julian leaned back in his chair as his chief advisor placed a file on the desk. She's not just trending, the advisor said. She's dominating. Her speech at the Global Women's Summit is already hitting 2 million views. Julian flipped open the folder, scanned the social metrics. She's unstoppable, the advisor added. No, Julian said calmly, she's just getting started. Charlotte paced the living room. You called Andrew's investor to leak confidential accounts? Vivian stirred her tea. I didn't leak anything. I just reminded him of the non-disclosure clause Andrew violated when he ranted about me at their last dinner. Charlotte stopped. You're sabotaging his deals now? I'm protecting mine, Vivian replied. And if his crumble in the process, that's just physics. You're scaring me. Vivian gave a cold smile. Good. Same evening, downtown event. It was a silent auction for media philanthropy. Vivian walked in, dressed in a jet black velvet gown, her eyes lined like ink. The whispers started instantly. She looks incredible. Did you see what she did with her platform? I heard Andrew tried to contact her 5 times last week. Not surprised. Have you seen who she's working with? Julian stood at the far side of the ballroom, speaking to a board member. His eyes flicked over to her the moment she entered. She walked directly past him, their eyes locking for a breath. You're late, he murmured. You expected me to be on time, she countered. Touché. Julian leaned closer, voice low. You made page 6 again. I know. They're calling you the Ice Queen who burns brighter than fire. Vivian smirked. I don't hate it. Julian chuckled under his breath. Neither do I. Julian walked her to the car. You know, he said, I've seen ruthless. I've seen poised. But what you're doing, it's surgical. Vivian glanced at him. You disapprove? No. I admire it. Pause. I just want to know one thing, he added. How far are you willing to go? Vivian's expression didn't change. As far as I need to. Isla threw the remote at the wall. Vivian Moore just signed a deal with Easton Publishing. Are you kidding me? Andrew sat on the couch, scrolling his phone. She's playing chess. We didn't even know we were on the board. She's everywhere. Every headline, every award list, she's winning. Andrew looked up. And she's doing it without saying a word about us. That's what's terrifying. Isla narrowed her eyes. She's not done. Andrew stood. Neither are we. She blinked. What does that mean? It means I'm going to make her talk to me. One way or another. Andrew Blake, I saw your speech. Impressive. I miss your voice. Can we meet? Isla Grant, I didn't mean to hurt you. But this is getting out of hand, Viv. Call me. Vivian stared at the screen. Then opened another message thread. Julian Ward, I reserved that Thai place you said you liked. Tomorrow at 7. She didn't reply to Andrew or Isla. But she typed back to Julian. Only if you let me order for both of us. He replied 2 words. Obviously yes. Julian was already seated when Vivian walked in, punctual in a storm gray coat and low-heeled boots, elegance wound into every step. He stood when he saw her. 7 of. That's a record. He shrugged. I figured punctuality pairs well with curries. He smiled. I hope you like this place. I had to pull strings. Vivian sat down across from him. I always like places where people pretend not to stare. Ah, Julian said, glancing at the nearby table where 2 couples were obviously whispering behind their wine glasses. You mean restaurants with mirrors? He grinned. Exactly. Julian leaned forward slightly. You're quiet tonight. I've been performing all week, Vivian said, sipping her wine. Today I just want to be understood. Julian studied her. You are. Vivian blinked. He added, that's why I didn't send my driver tonight. I wanted to listen. She set down her glass. I keep waiting for you to ask me why I'm doing this, she said. Why the media storm, the partnerships, the revenge? I already know. Oh. You're not getting revenge, Julian said quietly. You're reclaiming your narrative. Revenge is messy. Emotional. You're too clean for that. Vivian smiled faintly. You give me too much credit. No, he replied. Just the right amount. Their eyes met and for a second the entire room fell away. The sidewalk glowed under the soft amber of street lamps. Julian walked her to the waiting car, holding her coat gently at the shoulders. I'm glad you came, he said. Vivian hesitated before opening the car door. So am I. He looked at her a moment longer. You don't always have to win every room, Vivian. She raised an eyebrow. Why not? Because some rooms don't deserve you. She smiled. Good night, Julian. Good night. As the door shut and the car pulled away, Julian stood under the streetlight, hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. Charlotte burst in, holding a newspaper. You are not going to like this. Vivian took it calmly and scanned the front page. Andrew Blake launches Blake & Rowe Consultancy, claims personal lessons shaped his new chapter. Vivian laughed once. Personal lessons? Charlotte pointed to the quote. He says the pain of recent events reminded him of what not to take for granted. Let me guess, Vivian said dryly. He's the victim again? Charlotte sighed. He's getting sympathy. People are reposting his interview all over. Soft piano music. Clean apartment. Regretful tone. Vivian folded the paper. He's playing the long game. You sure you don't want to make a statement? No, Vivian said, a sharpness beneath her still voice. I want him to keep talking. The louder he gets, the more desperate he looks. Julian watched the same interview from his laptop. His assistant paused in the doorway. Are you going to tell her? Julian didn't answer immediately. Then, no. She has a right to know if he's working his way back into media for a reason. I know, Julian said. But she's too smart not to see it. She was halfway through responding to an email when her phone buzzed. Andrew, dinner? Just one conversation. No press. Just us. Please. She didn't respond. Then came another. Andrew, I need closure. And I think you do too. She tossed the phone aside. Then hesitated. And picked it back up. He typed one word. Fine. Vivian, meeting Andrew tonight. Don't worry, it's surgical. Julian stared at the message for a long moment. Then typed. Just promise me one thing. She replied instantly. What? Don't let him make you feel small. Not even for a second. Vivian paused. Then smiled slightly. I won't. Andrew stood as she approached, pulling out her chair like he hadn't once betrayed everything she believed in. You look incredible, he said. I didn't come for flattery. I know. I just wanted to see you. Face to face. Vivian leaned back. You had 1,000 chances to see me when it mattered. Andrew exhaled. I was stupid. I didn't think. She was there. You don't need to explain her. She already explained herself. I never stopped loving you. Vivian tilted her head. Then why did you stop respecting me? Andrew fell silent. Vivian folded her hands on the table. Let me guess. You want a second chance? To fix things? He nodded. Yes. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I'm not broken, Andrew. And I don't need to be fixed. Vivian stood beside him under the skyline. She hadn't said a word yet. Julian finally asked, Did you get your closure? She shook her head. I got something better. What's that? Proof, she said softly. That I don't feel anything anymore. Julian watched her quietly. Then poured her a drink. For that we celebrate. Vivian raised her glass. To endings, she said. Julian met her toast. And everything after. They clinked glasses. And for a moment neither of them said a word. But something had shifted, undeniably, silently. The war she'd been waging wasn't just about retribution anymore. It was about rebuilding. And this time someone was standing beside her. The barista placed the latte gently on Vivian's table. Here's your order, Ms. Moore. And your usual croissant. Vivian gave a polite nod, still typing on her tablet. Across from her, Charlotte scrolled through her phone, frowning. Have you seen this? She muttered. Vivian looked up. Charlotte turned her screen around. Video. Andrew Blake breaks down on morning news. I lost the love of my life. In the thumbnail, Andrew sat in a tailored navy suit, voice tight with emotion. The headline below read, She was my home and I burned it down. Vivian took a slow sip of her latte. Is it that season again? He looks pitiful, Charlotte said. He says he misses your laugh. That he still dreams about your wedding day. I bet he does. Charlotte lowered her voice. You okay? Vivian tapped the screen once to pause the video. Do I look like someone who's affected? Charlotte smirked. You look like someone about to send a thunderbolt. Vivian smiled slightly. Not yet. Let him think he's winning. Julian shut his laptop mid-interview. He's going full tilt, his assistant said. There's a podcast lined up and now this charity gala tomorrow night. Is Vivian attending? She RSVP'd this morning. Press will be there. Julian nodded slowly. Tell security to stay close. You think Andrew will try something? I don't think, Julian said. I plan. The cameras went wild the moment Vivian stepped out of the car. She wore midnight blue, simple, unforgiving, stunning. Her heels struck the marble with purpose. Julian met her at the steps. You're late. You're overdressed. He glanced at her silk gloves. That's rich coming from you. They entered together. All eyes followed them. Vivian Moore, a reporter gushed. You've been called an icon, a strategist, and even a mystery. What would you call yourself? Vivian turned to face the camera with a composed smile. Focused. And Andrew, any thoughts on his recent statements? His regrets. Vivian didn't blink. Regret is often louder than accountability. But volume doesn't equal sincerity. A gasp from someone nearby. Julian stepped subtly behind her, nodding at security. She turned to him as the camera lights dimmed. Too harsh. Too perfect. Crossed the ballroom. Andrew spotted her from the other side. He excused himself mid-conversation and crossed the floor, determination in every step. Vivian. She didn't flinch. Andrew, she replied coolly. Didn't expect to see you without a microphone. I had to talk to you in person. Away from cameras. Why break pattern now? He winced. I deserved that. Vivian tilted her head. What is it you want? I want a chance to prove I've changed. You mean the same way Isla's changing her narrative? Andrew's jaw tightened. That's different. No, Andrew, she said softly, it's exactly the same. He took a step closer. You once said I made you feel seen. I want that back. Vivian's eyes didn't waver. And you made me feel disposable. I'll never forget that. Andrew faltered. Vivian added, You're not here because you love me. You're here because the world no longer does. Vivian stepped outside to catch her breath. Julian followed quietly, offering her a glass of water. She accepted it without a word. Want to talk about it? He asked. No, she said. But I will. He waited. I used to think love was about grand gestures, she said. Now I think it's about who holds your silence. Julian nodded slowly. Then I'll hold it for as long as you need. Vivian turned her head. Why are you so good at this? At what? Being steady. Being here. He looked at her for a moment. Then answered quietly, because I know what it's like when no one is. She blinked. For the first time her voice softened. You're not just here for the deal, are you? Julian didn't move. No. Suddenly camera shifted. Isla entered in a pale pink dress, her face carefully made up, her smile delicate. A reporter stopped her. Isla. Any comment on Vivian Moore? She smiled faintly. Vivian and I go way back. We've both made mistakes. But I still wish her the best. Vivian watched from a distance, her jaw tightening. Charlotte hissed. She's angling for sympathy. She can have it, Vivian said. It won't save her. Julian and Vivian stood side by side waiting for her car. You kept your cool, he said. I always do. You wanted to slap her though, didn't you? Vivian smiled. Twice. Pause. Then she said, they both want something from me. But they forgot I've already given enough. Julian opened her car door for her. What do you want, Vivian? She looked at him. Then stepped inside and whispered, peace. The door shut gently. But her mind wasn't quiet. Not yet. Vivian sat at the long black marble conference table, reviewing ad metrics with her team. Sophie, her assistant, burst in, phone shaking in hand. You're going to want to see this. Vivian took the phone calmly and pressed play. Exclusive. Isla Grant launches Redemption and Real Talk. A podcast about grace, healing and forgiveness. The clip opened with Isla sitting across from a weepy journalist. I made terrible choices. I hurt people I love. But the person I hurt most, Vivian, she was like my sister. Vivian paused the clip. Sophie hovered. She's painting herself as the wounded dove. Again. She wants sympathy, Vivian murmured. Which means she's bleeding. Julian joined her as the elevator climbed. She's making headlines again, he said. Vivian didn't look up. So I heard. She mentioned my name in the podcast. That made her glance at him. What did she say? Julian smirked faintly. That I was cold. And that men like me are attracted to women who remind them of power they can't control. Vivian blinked. Poetic. She thinks she can turn the story into a triangle. She's not creative enough, Vivian said flatly. Julian folded his arms. She requested a meeting. With me. Vivian raised an eyebrow. Are you going? I thought you'd say no. I don't own you, Julian. No, he said, looking directly at her. But I don't make moves that put you in crosshairs. Vivian said nothing for a moment. Then softly, go. Hear what she has to say. Watch how she plays. Julian's eyes narrowed. You want to see how far she'll go? No, Vivian said. I want her to see how far she can't. Isla was already waiting when Julian arrived, her hair carefully curled, her makeup soft and sweet. She rose to greet him with a tight, faux embarrassed smile. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. Julian sat down without shaking her hand. Let's be clear. This isn't a courtesy call. Isla sighed. I'm not the villain everyone says I am. Julian said nothing. She leaned forward. Vivian's tough. But you know that already. She doesn't leave room for second chances. She left room for you, Julian said. For years. Isla's smile twitched. I didn't come here to justify. I just think it's dangerous when people idolize someone who knows how to hide. Julian tilted his head. You think Vivian's hiding? She's calculated. She's built a whole empire off betrayal. Julian's voice was ice. And what have you built? Isla swallowed. You think she's invincible now. But no one is. Especially when they fall in love again. Julian's gaze sharpened. Be careful, he said quietly. You're not as clever as you think. And Vivian isn't someone you can outplay. He stood buttoning his jacket. And Isla. She looked up hopefully. I came here for proof. Now I have it. Vivian stood barefoot in the kitchen, sipping her coffee when Julian walked in. You were right, he said. I usually am. She wanted to flip the script. Make you look like the villain in your own success story. And you? She asked. I shut the curtain before she got to Act 2. Vivian smirked. You do have good timing. She also said something interesting. Vivian raised an eyebrow. She said you wouldn't be able to handle falling again. A flicker passed through Vivian's eyes, too fast to register as anything but a shadow. Then she straightened. I'm not falling. I'm flying. Julian's voice softened. Even birds need rest. Vivian set her cup down. Not until the sky is mine. The lights were dim. Her team was whispering, confused. Your sponsors are pulling, one assistant said. 3 already confirmed. What? Isla snapped. They say the narrative is shifting. She's not who you painted her to be. And neither are you. Isla's hands shook. Pull the new episode, she snapped. Now. But it was too late. Sophie rushed in with a magazine. Vivian opened it slowly. Behind every powerful woman is a past she refused to let define her. By Julian Ward, guest column. In it, Julian wrote about resilience. Quiet power. The brilliance of a woman who didn't raise her voice, but raised standards instead. Vivian read the final paragraph twice. To those who think they can twist her story, I suggest you remember she built the ending herself. And it's not finished. She looked up as Julian walked in. You wrote this? She asked. He nodded once. Vivian handed it back. You didn't have to. I know, Julian said. But I wanted to. A long pause. Then she said softly, thank you. He smiled. You're welcome. The place was all clean lines and sharp design. Steel, glass, ash wood. Everything in its place. Just like him. Vivian wandered through the open-plan living room, her heels echoing softly across polished concrete. Let me guess, she said. Every piece of furniture was picked to intimidate. Julian handed her a glass of wine. Actually, the couch was for comfort. The rest? Intimidation, yes. She took the glass and walked to the window. Why did you invite me here? He leaned against the edge of the bar. Because I don't want to be another transaction in your life. She turned. So this is personal now? It's always been personal. Vivian stared at him for a long moment. Then talk. Julian sat on the couch, resting his glass on the low table. I was engaged once. Vivian blinked, slowly sat across from him. She was the daughter of one of our board's partners, he continued. Charming. Brilliant. Dangerous. Vivian said nothing. We were building something together, at least that's what I thought. Until I found out she was feeding intel to a rival firm. Vivian's brows lifted slightly. She betrayed you for business? She sold my pitches. And she sold the story of us. Told every investor I was emotionally unstable. Unfit to lead. Vivian's jaw tightened. What did you do? I didn't retaliate. I disappeared. I pulled every resource I had and took her father's company in 3 months. Cling. Quiet. No headlines. Vivian nodded once. So that's why you don't fall easily. I don't fall at all, he said. Until now. The air shifted. Vivian looked away. Don't say that. Why not? Because I don't know if I can return it. Julian's voice was soft. I'm not asking you to. I just want you to know where I stand. Vivian glanced down at her hands. I built walls too, she murmured. And I don't remember who I was before I did. Julian reached out, barely touching her wrist. Maybe we don't need to remember who we were, he said. Maybe we just figure out who we are now. Vivian leaned against the railing, wine in hand. Julian stood next to her. I saw what Isla was trying to do, she said. Twist you into her narrative. I didn't let her. Vivian nodded. I know. She glanced up at him. You scare me sometimes. Why? Because you're the first man who doesn't want to break me or fix me. You just see me. Julian didn't speak. Then after a beat he said, I don't want to be your shelter, Vivian. She frowned slightly. I want to be your equal. She stared at him. And for the first time since she walked away from the altar she felt it. Not revenge, not triumph, but a strange, fragile peace settling at the edges of her chest. She didn't say anything. But she didn't need to. Andrew Blake, I heard you're with him now. After everything we had? After everything we were? Vivian typed slowly. We were nothing, Andrew. That's the part you still haven't understood. You'll regret this. You've said that before. You were wrong then too. She deleted the thread after. No need to archive what's already been buried. Julian and Vivian stood shoulder to shoulder at the magazine rack. One headline stood out. Julian Ward, the man behind Vivian Moore's rise. Or the one who finally matched her? Julian smirked. They always need a man in the story. Vivian replied, let them add names. It won't change who wrote the ending. Julian turned to her. You mean you? No, she said gently. We. 1 month later, upstate New York. Vivian, the coffee machine hates me. Julian stood in the kitchen, wearing flannel pants and absolutely no understanding of how appliances worked. Vivian strolled in barefoot, robe loosely tied, hair a perfect mess. That's because you insulted it last night. I did not. You said it was a disgrace to engineering. It remembers. He frowned at the blinking lights. I swear this thing has a personal vendetta. Vivian reached over, pressed 2 buttons and the machine purred to life. Julian stared. I could have built an empire and retired by the time I figured that out. She handed him a mug. Luckily you've already got the empire. Just needed someone to fix the coffee part. He took a sip then looked at her. You're dangerous. Why? Because every time you solve a problem I want to propose. Vivian raised an eyebrow. Don't lead with caffeine next time. Go straight for diamonds. Vivian rested her head on Julian's shoulder. Both of them curled into the oversized lounger. A cold breeze stirred the trees. Remember when we first met? Julian asked. You barged into my penthouse uninvited. It was a business pitch. You showed up less than 24 hours after I canceled my wedding. He grinned. And you still heard me out. I should have thrown a heel at you. Julian chuckled. Why didn't you? Vivian looked up. Because something about you was calm. Controlled. Dangerous but familiar. You forgot devastatingly handsome. I blocked that part out. Julian kissed the top of her head. Liar. Julian, you can't put that tile there. That's against the rules. Which rule? Vivian pointed. Page 6. Section 2. Julian narrowed his eyes. You read the manual? Yes. He groaned. You really are terrifying. Vivian smirked. Strategic, remember? Remind me never to play poker with you. You already lost that one. He leaned in. I'm okay losing to you as long as I win the prize. What prize? Julian tapped her lips. This. She kissed him without hesitation. The board game remained tragically abandoned. Julian. If we had met under normal circumstances, no betrayal, no broken engagements, do you think we still would have ended up here? He opened one eye. No. Vivian blinked. No. I'd have thought you were too perfect. Too polished. And you'd have thought I was too cold. That's fair. But life shattered us first, he continued. And when you meet someone in the ruins, it's easier to know if they're real. Vivian whispered, and I like you ruined? He grinned. Absolutely. Julian stood with a knife and 3 onions. This is war. Vivian handed him a tissue. You're crying more than I did at our press launch. These things are aggressive. You cut against the grain. He huffed. I'm a sous, not a chef. You're also the man who thought a coffee machine had feelings. Julian dabbed his eyes. I'm sensitive, okay? Vivian laughed, leaning against the counter. You're a mess. Julian wiped a tear. And you're the love of my life. She stilled. Then walked over and kissed him slow and soft. Good, she whispered. Because you're mine too. Julian stared at her for a long moment. You know what the difference is between now and when I first met you? Vivian curled up beside him. What? Back then you were steel under silk. Now, you're velvet with teeth. She laughed. That's not even a real metaphor. It is. I just invented it. She traced his jawline lazily. You've changed too. Oh. You used to talk like every sentence was a contract clause. Now you flirt like you're in a rom-com. I have no idea what you mean, he said dryly. Now tell me how beautiful I am again. Vivian snorted. You're absolutely unbearable. And you love it. I do. Julian kissed her shoulder, voice low. Vivian more. She turned in his arms. Yes. I know you don't want vows. But just so you know, if I ever say one, it won't be in a chapel or under pressure. She smiled. So where then? He leaned close, whispering against her lips. Anywhere you're laughing. Vivian smiled into the kiss. Then don't stop making me. He didn't. The end.